Good afternoon. Today we have a guest speaker called Brendan. He's the social care of Gil. So good afternoon, Brendan.
Hi Adrian, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm great. And how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Adrian. I'm good. I can't complain. I'm really excited to be on your first ever podcast. It's a real honor
Yep,
to be here.
yep. So today we are here to talk about our experience with autism. So I have autism myself, and you are the social care of Gil. So what is your social care role in Gil?
My role, Care and Gale, is I work for the Southside Transition Team. So we're essentially supporting adults with various different aspects of their life, from health to housing, communication, general safety, even time management, and just all these areas around people's lives, and particularly around independent living. So there could be to money management, it could be just general family relationships, or whatever goal and requirements they need. We try to support them.
And what is your experience with the autistic client?
Yeah, so I've a bit of experience. I've worked with several different people with autism, all being totally different. Obviously, people are different personalities. So as the years gone on, I've learned more and more about working with people with autism. Learned the different aspects of the spectrum. Yeah, so it's very, very, very interesting. And since meeting you, now I've learned so much more. I've gotten such a better insight into autism, and more specifically stepping into the autistic person's world, which has been very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your experience with autism, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with autism at the age of 3, PDDNOS, pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specific, which means spe- I'm in somewhere in the middle of the spectrum. So there are different types like classic autism, which means someone who is severely autistic, someone with the child mind, cannot speak, while while people with Asperger tend to develop just like other people, except they have problem with social integration and behavioral problem. So I'm in somewhere in the middle. Part of my autism, I have OCD, which make me spend long time in the toilet due to my compulsive or ritualized behavior, which can be a bit strange. I have a special interest in Disney characters, fairy tale, and costume characters, where some people dress up as a character and you take pictures and entertain you like the way in Disneyland does with the characters. And part of my autism, I have loads of obsession, and I can be fix, fixated to something, and I'm more likely to be in my autistic fantasy world. And also part of my autism, I have delayed development, which mean I don't develop the way my peers does. I can be I can be laid back or delayed from my peers. And part of my autism, I have social integration problem. So I often do mix friends either with younger children in my in my youth age, or I could have other autistic friends, other autistic adult who are like in their 30s, or autistic teenagers 13, 14 or 15. And that's my experience with autism.
Okay, that's really good. Again, it's so I know we work together a lot, and I really love getting your insight into autism. It just really helps me
Yeah,
my personal life and professional life.
yeah,
Really understand what autism is.
yeah.
So it's so interesting. And
I mean, it's important for the society to change the attitude first before having the good service, because because for my career I like to be an autistic advocate,
Okay,
so I can
that's
change the
that's
society.
very interesting.
Here's the thing that I find out about the autism acceptance. Some people do think autism acceptance mean having all the service, but for me, I don't think that's the point. Because like even though you have the best service, but if the society attitude is bad, then even though the service is good, that wouldn't make the difference of the autistic person. Because when they go out, then people would not accept them, and then all in the service could do is just not to make them too different so they can fit into the society.
Okay.
So, for example, here's the example I can give you.
Yes, please.
Every country have different way to accept autism and different service. For example, I know in Japan, the service there are kind of lacking, except the day center, special school, and the residential home. They don't really have much service like the Lucina, Springboard, Gill here.
Okay.
But where, but in Japan, at least it is a autistic friendly country. For example, they Japanese people accept difference are very good. For example, you can have an older adult carrying a cuddly toys
Yeah.
or holding figurines in the streets and playing with figurines, cuddly toys the way children does, and that's part of their adult culture. So adult culture there is just like children's culture here. So especially when autistic people who cannot adapt the social norm the way they cannot adapt the social norm and can't really follow the social norm in Japan because of many social withdrawal, so that would be easier for autistic people. So at least in the public, they have the understanding of the autistic difference, and they and and people tend to be quite friendly with an autistic person. But like I know in UK, they have all the service for autistic people, but the public attitude are still bad. So the only service they do is make the autistic person not to be too different so they can fit into the society.
So what you're saying is that we need need a balance in terms of how we support people and how not just how a service supports someone, but how a society supports someone.
Yeah,
So for example, your dream scenario, if I'm guessing, would it be say services in Ireland and the UK, then mixed with how society in Japan and the public treat people with autism?
yeah,
And yeah, so it's just trying to find the best of all these different worlds and bring them together.
yeah,
And do you think that's what you'd like to do with your autism
yeah.
advocacy
So I
career?
think changing the society is the first things.
Okay.
Because if you change the society, then they will understand the autistic person, then they may not be social norm that they have to follow, then they can live easily without any problem or things like that. So when they have many surface, the surface will not have to push them to not to be too different, things like that.
Okay. So what would you recommend? What would you tell people in Ireland to do to make society more accepting to people with autism?
For example, I think the biggest thing is the law enforcement. Where law enforcement, because unfortunately I heard in UK, because they cannot follow the social norm, and that can make them to be like the criminal suspects, because you know autistic difference, they tend to they tend to behave in a way that in some society people may find it is a bit inappropriate, and when they do something inappropriate people may worry that they might be the criminal suspect and then may call the police, or maybe because the law enforcement set boundaries are kind of not fair for them. For example, they can be setting boundaries, they can be giving them same rights. So when people have same right, they have the same responsibility. Then, say for example, those who have behavioral problem, where when they where when things don't work in their way, they can suddenly hit other things like that, and sentence them to, and then having the same right for them and the same sentence that wouldn't be fair on the autistic individual because not every of them have the capacity. So maybe if we have some, if we have some, so maybe if the law can recognize that not all autistic persons can have the same rights, so maybe if the boundary set differently for them, for example, if they have the autistic card, and then and then maybe make the Irish law maybe saying that alright, every law has different boundaries for autistic people, for children, elderly, just different boundary for different people.
So do you think it would be good then to have, say, several different public institutions, if we say the police force in Ireland, the guards, or even say education, all levels of education? Do you think awareness in these big public institutions where we spend a lot of time and receive a lot of help from, do you think they should get more education and awareness? And then to spread awareness in the different areas in society, so we all get more educated and becomes almost
and also
normal.
the public attitude, and also
How do you think we can change the public attitude around autism?
for example, we can give a voice like the way we're doing in podcasts. We can write books or raise more autism awareness.
That's fantastic, Adrian.
And hopefully this can change the social norm of Ireland. So that means it will make life for autistic people live easier.
Great. No, that's fantastic, Adrian. So I think we're nearly finished up on time here, Adrian.
Yeah, so it was nice to meet you.
Yeah, it was lovely to talk to you, Adrian, and it's such a pleasure to meet you today and work. I know it's such a pleasure to get to work with you. And in the next podcast, what would you like to talk about?
So the next podcast, I would like to talk about special interest in autism.
Fantastic.
And how they spend time in their world, things like that.
Adrian, that is fantastic, and really thanks for taking the time to talk to me today. It's such a pleasure as always. Okay, Adrian, take care.
Yeah, bye.